Rolling, what's up? Happy Friday. Thank God it's Friday to those that actually give a fuck. I really don't care. But happy Friday to you. Happy Friday. We're going to talk about three tips since we are heading towards the weekend that will sort of keep you safe whenever you decide to go out, if you decide to go out and eat at a restaurant, order takeout, or whatever. One of the two. All right. And these are tricks that I use myself. These are tricks that I tell the people. These are tricks that I tell my clients to use when they go out on the weekend and it's like somebody's birthday, it's their like wife's birthday, or they're gonna have like a romantic dinner or you spend time with the family, whatever it is. We're human beings and there are times where we're brought out. We gotta go to the fest, whatever it is, to the spot, to the restaurant, to the cousin's house, whatever. And there's going to be a bunch of food options there that don't necessarily adhere to what you're used to or what you're actually trying to eat consistently in order to change your body. But it's not necessarily the food itself that's bad. The worst thing, or yeah, I would say the worst thing in general, is the lack of knowledge when it comes to the nutritional value of that food, right? So, yes, you do want to be eating less of the junk food, but the junk food itself isn't going to do much to you. It's the accumulation of the junk food and not knowing like how much you're actually accumulating, how much you're actually getting from it. So you cannot control or gauge. What's up, Brian? I see you, bro. You cannot control or gauge how much you're actually overindulging. Like if you have carbs in your diet, you can have carbs. Period. Carbs do come from even junk foods. But if you're eating junk foods and you don't know how many carbs are in those said junk foods or in the unit that you're measuring, then you won't have an accurate idea as to how much you're eating, and that can make you overeat by accident because not all breads, not all desserts, not all foods are created different equally, and a lot of them are a lot more different than you think. So these three tips are going to be super simple. Again, this is going to be a really, really short, quick live stream. Really, really simple tips that you can honestly write down in your notes in your phone, or you can just remember them off the top of your head. They're that simple. And they're questions that you're going to be asking either your server or whenever you're going to go out with your family. If it's like you're eating at their house, you can ask them these questions, these three questions. And with the information of these three questions, you can factor it in to what your daily caloric requirements are. Okay, and your daily macronutrient requirements, like what those things are, right? So the first thing is I would want you guys and girls to ask either the server, ask the server to ask the chef, or if you've got family members that you're going to visit or whatever, them even ask them if they can provide you the nutritional value of the food. And this is it's kind of weird to ask, you cook this, what's the nutritional value? Like I get it, but it's up to you. You can either go there, get that information, factor it in, and be normal, or come there with your own prepared meals. And then when everyone else is eating what they're eating and you're eating your prep meals, you can be ostracized in that way. So it's the best of both evils, right? So the first thing, ask them the nutritional value of the food. Okay, and you don't have to just say nutritional value. You can just say how much protein, carbs, and fats. You could just say how many calories, and if they don't know, then you can ask them, where they got it from. And Google, guys and girls, is amazing. It'll tell you. It'll give you a rough estimate if you do not have a solid answer, right? And if it's something like a cake they baked and all that stuff, and it's like from home, again, limit yourself, right? Try not to have the foods that you don't know the nutritional value of because that can kind of throw you off. Or you can also spare one meal that would you normally have in your protocol, and then go to that said event, and you could indulge in a very minimal amount of what doesn't have nutritional value. But because you've spared the carbs or protein, whatever it is, typically carbs and fats from the and calories from the other meal that you decided not to eat, it won't have as much as of an impact if you overeat because you sort of made space for it. But it's always better to play it safe and eat what you know the value of when it comes like to the calories and the protein, carbs, and fats. So that's number one. Make sure you have the nutritional value of the food. Okay, and that sort of only applies if you're like with your family or like you're with people that are cooking things at home, like home cooked meals and stuff. But The second tip kind of relates to that, but is more like tailored towards if you're going out to a restaurant. Okay, if you're going out to a restaurant, you're gonna spend time with your family. You're gonna go whatever it is. The doesn't matter. It's the weekend. Okay, you're at the restaurant. It's the weekend, and you want to eat, of course. What I would recommend, which is tip number two out of three for tips for restaurant and takeout for the weekend, try to order foods that they can provide measurements for. So when I say that, I'm not talking about like specifically what I mentioned earlier. I'm saying like, so for example, you've got chicken breasts, steaks, potatoes, rice even they can offer, whatever it is. Try to ask them for specific measurements of the foods that would sort of adhere to your macronutrient requirements and your caloric limits. Okay, so instead of ordering, I want, and I mean, it's already in the name kind of. You can say, I want an 8-ounce steak and uh, however many grams of potatoes, and just specify, please make sure that it's accurate with the measurement. That's number two, is just to solidify the measurement. If they can provide a measurement for the foods that you're consuming and trying to pick foods that are easy to measure, like for the protein sources, chicken breasts, steaks, salmon, even to make them provide an actual measurement for the protein, an actual measurement for the carbs, whether it's rice, whether it's potatoes, right? So I want you guys and girls to make sure that, again, it ties into the first tip. Make sure you have the nutritional value of the food. And tip number two is more so how to ask for it or how to demand it, we'll say. You know, you ask for a specific amount of something that you can measure, that you can factor into your caloric requirements and your macronutrient requirements with a free app called MyFitnessPal. If you guys don't know, you know, and then you can calculate if you're overindulging or underindulging and how much room you've got left to eat when you go out into, to a restaurant. And I know some people personally, like again bodybuilders, that would literally go to the restaurant with a scale to make sure that the restaurant is serving them exactly what they order. And sometimes you'd be surprised. A lot of the times when these 8-ounce steaks are being brought out, they're not actually 8 ounces. Maybe they're 8 ounces raw, but you get them. They're like 6 ounces, 5 and 3/4, and it's just like you run back to the shelf or to the server. She runs back to the chef, and they'll actually correct and give you the difference in the ounces that they owe you. And just to be accurate like that, just to be sharp like that, is a good skill to have. Not only for your fat loss journey, but again, you'll get a better bang for your buck because these restaurants really do be lying out there like that. So that's another one. You're gonna love me for that because again, protein is calorically dense, so you can eat a little bit more of that than carbs. So that's your tip number two. And number three, this one is something that again you would mostly use at the restaurant, but could use if you are eating somewhere where your family is preparing meals, but mainly in the restaurant. Sort of, it's almost like something. It's you got to remember it as much as you remember saying thank you to the server. All right, it's kind of funny, but you got to remember it as much as you say thank you to the server. And this one is reduced butter, oil, or sauces. Let's face it, you're not gonna actually get them to fucking tell you the macronutrient value of the liquid in the sauce and how much sauce is in. That's nobody knows that. Nobody there knows that. If you were preparing your own meal, you'd have the control to know that. Even if you were to go to a family friend's house and you were having your meals there on the weekend, they wouldn't even know that. So this is something that I would recommend. That I mean, typically it would be done in the restaurant, but it also could be done wherever you eat, that is takeout or away from your meal plan. Request less butter, less oil, and less sauce. All right, do that. And once you do that, I tell you guys and girls, even though they don't know and you don't know the exact measurement of the oil, butter, and sauce, because there's less of it, there's a less likelihood of you actually overindulging when it comes to calories and getting a little bit more fats than you actually need. All right. So those are the three quick tips. I'm going to run over them real quickly that I would recommend you guys implement this weekend, especially if you really want to be successful in your fat loss or body transformation journey. Okay. The first one is to make sure that you have the nutritional value of the food wherever you go. Like make sure that you know it. And if you don't know it, make sure that you can ask for it. Number two, if you go to a restaurant, make sure that you order foods that are easy to measure for them, that being the chef, the server, so on and so forth, so that you can have an accurate measurement and you can factor that into your caloric limits for the day and your macronutrient limits for the day. Last but not least, just as much as you remember saying thank you to the server, again, typically at a restaurant, I'd recommend you do this. Always request for reduced butter, oil, or sauce. If anything, remove it. Okay. But again, not a lot of you like to eat dry food, and you're going out to this restaurant or wherever have you to eat takeout for food that isn't dry. So reduced butter, oil, or sauce. All right. So those are the top three tips that I'd recommend you guys and girls, especially this weekend when it comes to staying on track, at least being responsible with going out to a restaurant and eating while still enjoying yourself. All right. As I said, it's not the food itself that's bad. It's the lack of knowledge when it comes to how much or how many calories, how much protein, carbs, and fats that is on this plate. Because if you don't know that, you don't know how that factors into what your limits are for the day. All right. So the food isn't bad. It's the lack of knowledge when it comes to the measurement. Okay. So that's it. That's all, guys and girls. I appreciate y'all so much. Hope y'all have a sick ass weekend. I will be back on Monday again for another live stream slash podcast episode. So stay tuned. Check me out. You know what's good. TikTok, we out the cut. Instagram, I'll catch you later. All right. I appreciate everybody for joining. Peace. All right. We are out.